Welcome to the City of Indian Rocks Beach regular city commission meeting. This is Tuesday, November 12th. We've moved our location over here to the Holiday Inn Harborside as our city hall gets repaired. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stand for a few moments of silence. Lauren, would you take a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bigelow?
Present.
Commissioner Bond?
Here.
Commissioner Wyatt?
Here.
Vice Mayor Commissioner Wilson? Present. Mayor Commissioner Husband?
Here. Thank you. We'll start with the presentations. Can the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office come up and give their report?
Good evening, Council. I'm Sergeant Wolf with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. This evening I have the September 2024 report, the monthly analysis. However, the October monthly analysis doesn't seem like that's come out yet, which I suspect is probably going to come out this week. So it's usually the second week of the month that report comes out. I know you received the September 2024 report. Was there any questions from the council about that report?
Does anybody have any questions?
Okay. I did look in the interim. I did look at active calls that we've had and responded to during up until today from September, and there was nothing of significance, nothing major. So no violent crime, no major crimes to report, or no major crimes also. But then I had no other items to report.
Well, I did notice that Sheriff Gautier put out a press conference that there were a lot of illegals in the beach communities looting. Did you find that to be true?
We did. I'm over several of the beach cities, and we did have an influx of illegal migrants that had come into the area to do construction work. And we've been working diligently to try to resolve those issues, because a lot of the crime that we had an uptick in crime as a result. And we've been working diligently to try to resolve some of those issues that we've had. Fortunately, I think Indian Rocks Beach has, for the most part, been spared a little bit. However, I would like to remind Indian Rocks Beach residents that we do have a lot of unlicensed contracting that is occurring, and just be careful of the folks that you're employing. And you can also check with the Pinellas County Licensing Board to make sure these folks are on the Amazon.
Thank you.
Cool.
I'd like to move on to the report of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. Is there anybody here from the fire department? Okay, well then let's move on to the Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton recovery update.
Good evening, Greg Mills, the city manager. The primary report tonight is going to be given by Dean and Patty and Craig, the civil servant. Let me just mention a couple things that we updated the website a few days ago. It's called, there's a residence guide to rebuilding on the website. It's got frequently asked questions. There's a lot of good information on there. We asked the public to take a look at that. And then I think we had some encouraging movement today on the letters that a lot of people have been waiting on. It's still going to be a long process, but we'll give an update to that. But first I'll ask Dean to talk about public works, solid waste, beach accesses, and debris.
Thank you, Greg. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our debris management program commenced on October 7th and is currently in the final stages of completion, with Vicki Brothers, DRC Emergency Services, and the City of Rocks Beach still being active. On Friday, November 8th, the city comprised a listing of several residences still needing some C&D debris removal services, which should be completed, or anticipated to be completed by Friday, November 15th. After that time, residents will need to utilize their own resources for debris removal, and if you're not on the current list we have. Crews are also actively in the process of picking up all the vegetative debris and lighting the appliances. As I previously mentioned at the last meeting, this may take some time to the extreme volumes. It's a daunting and monumental task. We ask for your patience and understanding as we move through this process. Additionally, we had a Pinellas County Solid Waste hosting a household chemical collection event. Anyone that has chemical collections can take these conveniently to safely dispose of this because the city does not pick up hazardous waste. Okay, in the aftermath of both hurricanes. You can take these on Saturday, November 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Bel Air Causeway Boat Ramp. We have a listing of everything on the city's website that it takes, but I'll give you a brief idea. It's like automotive products, gasoline and diesel, household chemical, lawn and garden chemicals, paint products, pool spa products, signal flares, rechargeable batteries. There are several items they will not take. Ammunition they will not take. They will not take fire extinguishers, propane tanks, appliances, or medicine, or vehicle batteries. You will have to present your government ID, driver's license, or something that shows you are a Pinellas County resident. Moving forward to our beach accesses, the sand removal and dune repairs are progressing very well. Calavisi Construction is still active at this time, and we have reopened 12 beach accesses from 15th Avenue to 26th Avenue. The remaining beach accesses are going to be open on a segmented basis. We're not picking which one we can open up and stuff like that. We're just doing it segmented as we can get the debris off of it. Our parks reopening. I know parks are a vital organization of the city, and we have cleaned and reopened several parks. Brown Park, with the exception of the tennis courts, 24th Avenue Park, Cole Park, 12th Avenue Park, 10th Avenue Park, Chixie Park, and Keenan Cliff. I will say some of the parks will not have lighting equipment that is still operational this time, just due to the storms. We thank you all. Appreciate it.
Hello? Okay. All right. I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at. As we have posted on the website, you could apply for a permit of approval if you were under 12 inches of water damage in your house or under an elevated structure. So far, we have issued almost 100 permits on those items. Number two, just want to make sure that everyone knows as we get the information, letters will be sent out to everyone, whether they're substantially or non-substantially damaged. These letters will be coming from the city. Also, as we said, the website has been updated. We put in their process if you were non-substantial damage, and what you will need. I still have to put in the application form, which will be finalized tomorrow, but the other documents are needed and required by Pinellas County for any work in the floodplain. And now you're wondering if you get a letter that says you're substantially damaged. There will be an appeals process, and we will specify that on the website. It will involve a reinspection and a reevaluation of the cost estimate and appraisal if you have one. These will be handled and reviewed through the county's subcontractors that we are contracted with the county to do. They haven't set up the exact process. We aren't going to actually email them yet, but hopefully by the end of this week I'll have all that set up. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig.
Hey, good evening, Craig Fuller with Civil Spoke Design Group. So generally, this is the status and order of all the items we've been through. Just to reinforce, other than the under 12 inch, or if it's an elevated structure above a garage, we are holding off on permitting, and that's because there is a substantial damage evaluation occurring at every structure throughout the city. well, there's visual access. We just received a data set this afternoon that we have to clean up. There's unfortunately a lot of cleanup and linking and taking out some of the data where it's exists more than once. And then what we're going to be doing is sending letters at the end of this week. We're trying to line it up with every other community. That way, everyone gets it all at once, more or less. So we're working with your community leaders to make sure you get those. What?
It's a portion, it's not a whole bunch.
Correct. So this is the first. It is a large data set, but upon looking at that, unfortunately it's a small number in the city thus far, and I have confirmed that. So it's not as many as I would have hoped. Although there's thousands of homes and businesses throughout the county, it is a smaller number within the city itself.
How many?
I don't have the exact number, but it's
Percentage?
roughly 100, I would guess, within the city. But we're receiving multiple sets, so we're hoping to get more as the week progresses, because I can see visually they finished more, so we're hoping to get more. So for those of you that do have substantial damage, the county is providing some guidance for us to pass on, because if there is a larger percentage of substantially damaged than early estimates say, you'll likely have to stay in that structure for a bit of time, because you can only have so many contractors working on so many places all at once. So it's going to take some time. So what they're allowing is for some temporary repairs, and they'll put a time on it. But I think what's been happening with that is, depending on where it is and how long it's going to take for repairs, because if it's a large permitting item that might take a year or two to redo it at home, then they will extend the permit out for that. So just to hopefully alleviate that they're not trying to make anyone homeless, they're not trying to boot anyone out of their house. And that ties into exactly this. This is a review for structural soundness. This is not a substantial damage evaluation. This is just the initial, kind of like a CO, like a certificate of occupancy type. They just want to make sure that it does not appear to be in danger of collapse. That's what they're reviewing for, is for structural soundness. It's not an overall evaluation. Please don't take it as that. That's just the first pass that they went by the home or the business or whatever the structure may be. And again, let me see, I'm just trying to not restate all the items that she went through, but there is and will be an appeals process. I think we went through part of that last time, but it's going to require an estimate of what's done, along with an appraisal, along with photos of what the damage is, to make sure everything aligns, just to make sure that it's not a substantial improvement. And again, the county has hired some outside forces through Tidal Basin. They have another group that they're bringing in of contractors, so that if your contractor brings something and it makes sense, they will review it to make sure that the values all line up and make sense, and that it's not a substantial improvement or a substantial damage, and that it is actually under. It was because no one wants these to be not improved. We want the improvements done. Everyone wants to be back in their homes. They just don't want FEMA full funding. So that's it for me for now.
Only other comment I have is that Civil Serve, Hetty, has been our planner for a number of years, is that we've engaged Civil Serve to track all the properties in the city, and they'll keep up with where they are, the status of them. Because like I said, Hetty's role with the city is to sign off before the county issues the permit. So that's a good system for us to keep up with, where a particular property stands. So we're looking forward to picking this part up. I will tell you that I'm on the phone with a lot of conference calls. I was on one about mid-morning with all the building officials for all the majorities of the cities in the county, particularly all the beach cities. And just for our preparation for this meeting, I asked the group when we were on the call if any other city, beach city, had begun the notice process, what we refer to as SD letters or the non-SD letters. And the only one that's begun is Madeira Beach. And I asked them specifically, well, how many have you sent out? It's about 7. So this is kind of an area-wide problem. But I feel more comfortable with it this afternoon based on the initial information, and that's the benefit of civil service. They'll take this broad spreadsheet, reduce it down, where then the folks at City Hall can generate letters. And I'll just tell you, one other thing that we're gonna do, we're gonna post, as we get these lists, we're gonna post those on the website for people, so even before you get a letter, you can look on there and see which ones we've received. And then when we generate letters, we're required, mandated to mail a letter, but we will have, other copies of the letter available at City Hall, so if you don't wanna wait on the mail and you've looked and your property's been inspected and it's got a status, you can come by the Hamilton trailer that we're operating out of and pick that letter up. I do want to emphasize that this is the information that we began to receive today. This is not a total. We have over 3,000 structures inside the city, so this is not a total dump. This is going to be a process, and it's going to take some time. At least we're beginning to receive the information.
Will you be emailing those out as well?
We've had a number of people that have called over the last couple of weeks that have given us their email address and say, hey, if you get mine, email it to us. We can only do that if we have the email address. So if people want to call the main City Hall number and say, hey, my name is whatever my name is, here's my email address, we'll be happy to jot that down. And we'll email, but the city does not have access to everybody's emails.
Maybe it's a good time to get them collected. Maybe just come in through our contact page on our website and send us your email and tell us you want your SD letter emailed, and that would be easier.
Folks, Randy Morris, City here, and just before people get eager to share their information with us, I do want to make sure you're aware, whenever you give us things like your address, your email address, those things are public record. There's not a way to send that information to us and then keep it confidential. For most of you, your addresses are part of public record already through property appraiser, tax collector, otherwise. But in any event, any of you have a sensitivity around that. I want to make sure before you start giving us things like your emails, you know that information will be a public record if it's in our possession.
Thank you, Randy. Okay, and the only other question I had was of you, Dean. Are you our floodplain manager, or is Hetty our floodplain manager?
Pursuant to the city code, I am the floodplain manager, but I have the capability to designate several of the abilities to other staff.
Okay,
So Eddie, Craig, and Civil Service Design Group has been designated that task.
all right, thank you so much. And you're gonna tell me that the dog park is open again?
Not at this time.
Okay.
We're trying our due diligence to get all of our stuff as quick as we can.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to public comment. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern they have regarding any matter over the city, which the city commission has control, excluding the agenda items. All statements made to the city commission shall be made to the city commission as a whole, not directed to any individual city commission member, and no personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the city commission. I also want to add that all the questions that you have that you'll be bringing tonight, that Hetty and Craig and the rest of the team over there will write down the questions, and at the end of the public comment, that's when they want to answer them. That way we're not suspended here for hours in a back and forth debate. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, David Whiteside, 446 Hull Drive, Norwich. Thanks everyone for their hard work. This comment's a little more on the negative side, but we do appreciate hard work. So communication needs to be improved. 2 weeks ago we heard that all the letters would start on the 1st and be completed by the 15th. The 1st didn't happen, there was no communication about why they didn't happen, when they were going to start, or when they're going to end. And now we're hearing we've got 100 out of 3,200, right? And the map could be months or whatever. We need better communication, daily communication. How many letters have been sent out? Out of those, how many are there's substantial damage limit? So the people who don't have letters have a rough idea. Are they throwing out 50% of them, 10% of them? It matters. Communication is important. Ideally, we get a daily communication. 5,000, 3,200 properties, 100 sent out, 50 permits approved, how they sent out 40, pre-approval, whatever. Just communicate on a daily basis. And if there's no updates, just say no updates, but please send out a daily communication. There's so many rumors, false rumors. Again, if you hear rumors, just try and say this is false. City's sending out letters, because you read one post and it says Pinellas is sending them, another one is sending, the city is sending them. If you know the answer, please just communicate it. Also, let's look for opportunities to escalate and prioritize the process. It's been 7 weeks. I'm living in an Airbnb, paying Airbnb prices. FEMA's rejected the housing appeal. It's costing us a lot of money. What can we do to speed up the process? Can we start putting up drywall before we get permits? There's got to be ways around this. Why do we need to wait? Well, I guess we don't need to wait for all the inspections, but why do we need to wait for the other communities? If you've got some, send them out tomorrow. I don't care whether Bel Air or Madeira are giving theirs out next week. Send them out as soon as you've got them. And then, lastly, because of this delay, every contractor is serving these people. They're all now going to start at the same time. So rather than a contractor could have started 2 weeks ago, and now be on to the second or third person, we're all going to be in the same boat when we're waiting for the contractors. Again, I appreciate your hard work, but there's room for improvement. Thank you.
Hey, Diane.
Hello, Diane Daniel, 309 10th Avenue. First of all, thank you for all your hard work. It's been very, very impressive. My first thing is trite, but I think important. A nice thing for people is to have the return of the parking stickers when you can. It's kind of like the Christmas parade. It's a nice form of identity for us. My second thing is for the team who's going to answer questions later. I already know that I am demolishing my house, and I'd like to do that as soon as possible. So I hope those permits don't follow the same structure, since I'm not rebuilding it. So anyway, we'll be in touch, but I just was wondering if you could bring that up, since you're saying no permits at all. My last point is about communication. As the other person said, but I've actually been saying this for a decade, is that we should have email lists when people want to get their email, and also post mail. The city used to send out a newsletter quarterly to everyone's mailbox, but since this started, we have gotten actually no official communication. We've not gotten a letter, and those short-term rental people who you all have on an email list have not received one email. So it's great that Denise is on Facebook updating people, and the website has some updates, but to not have had, after this many weeks, one official communication with residents is really a problem. So even if you let people, some people don't even know there's a website. They don't know to go to the website. And Facebook should not be official communication. So I really hope that that's something we can do now, and also moving forward to really have a systematic way of keeping people communicate. Thank you.
Hi, Brandy Conselbaum and Hidden Harbor 515th and Harper. I'm going back to even before all of our storms. Our community had permits to be put in for siding, and obviously that's been shoved into the G file, which I think is ridiculous. A good portion of our community was devastated, not by living quarters in our lower levels, so I guess I'm part of that building that is going to be also again put to the side because my home didn't get destroyed. Yet my personal home did. I lost my bedroom window. I'm living with that. When it rained last week, it was horrifying because I don't have a whole lot of protection. But I feel that while we had permits put in, I believe in August or September, well before the storms, and those haven't been addressed. And those should be separate from everything else. I don't think that's fair or right. So that needs to be worked on. And I also want to jump ahead when the storm and everything's all cleaned up. I don't want to hear that I live on a private street, that your street cleaners aren't going to come down our street. I found debris from Indian Shores. Our beach access had a garbage can from Treasure Island. So we are one community. I don't want to hear any more about the fact that we are separate because I live in an HOA. I don't know, I pay the same taxes.
Good evening. My name is Peter Osborne. I'm at 2504 Gulf Boulevard, the Dolphin Reef Condo Association. I unfortunately the guy who wrote his hand, who's the president of the association. I just want to first thank everybody for the efforts to clean up on Indian Rock Beach. I have been known to brag before, and I've been bragging to my friends about the work that's been done so far. I know there's a lot about it. We all live here in Indian Rock Beach. We've been spared. We've been very fortunate at Dolphin Reef throughout the storm. Like I said, we live in Indian Rock Beach, except we have little or no beach. I know this is not the top priority at this point, but we moved here for the beach. It's part of our identity, and it's our economic engine. While there have been efforts to improve the beach, and we don't need to recount all the efforts that have gone on, I haven't seen much in any of the minute meetings of the council going back to April. Correct me if I'm wrong. It just hasn't been, it doesn't appear to be a priority. Beach replenishment should be a distinct and separate agenda item for you folks to report on each commission. I know from my business experience, if there's nobody accountable and it's not reported on regularly, nothing happens. So I implore you to have beach replenishment on your agenda as a standing topic for each commission meeting, along with action items, both completed and planned. It must be a priority for the town. And the future of our town rests on it and on a viable beach. If the commission decides to emphasize and place its efforts towards improving the beach, I'm confident you guys can make it happen. It needs to be a standing item. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Laura Lindsay, 115 12th Avenue. Commenting on the resource book that was provided, noticing that the application for the permit is still not done. It's been 7 weeks, it's a simple form. Furthermore, Indian Rocks Beach outsourced permitting to Pinellas County. I really want to encourage the group to reevaluate any time that we are then re-injecting the city into something that is already being handled. So it does appear to be a second piece of red tape for permits that were already outsourced. I understand that the people providing the service are handling a very high volume, and that perhaps there could be a benefit from reducing that workload. would request that we confirm whether, since there's confusion out there, people who have non-substantial damage will receive official notice of that, or if they can deduce that lack of receiving anything means, you know, that no news is good news. So let's make sure that we put that out. I noticed those letters are coming out by the U.S. Postal Service, and that there was mention tonight that they will be posted on the website. I would encourage the city to put out direction as to where on the website those things can be located. What website are we referring to? Where can they be located? I second the motion that this information is updated regularly throughout the day. I understand that members of the panel are fielding all sorts of phone calls, such as where is my this, where is my that, here's my email. So if we have that type of time, I would encourage members to take a look at the time management and consider putting things out in mass that are frequently asked questions, things that we're getting calls about, and creating tools so that these updates can be made. Similar to our mayor's suggestion that people use the contact form on the website to submit their emails rather than calling and bogging down people who are trying to push some of these things along. With regard to temporary repairs that were mentioned that people may be able to make if they were determined to have substantial damage and they're able to make those repairs temporarily while they're awaiting permitting, that may take 1 or 2 years. It might be worth mentioning that many people are withholding making any repairs at all for fear that they are already investing in something that is going to have to be demolition. I don't think I'm the only one who is running fans, running air conditioners, keeping things dry, managing mold, only to be living in anticipation that it was all for nothing.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment this evening? Hey, Mark.
Mark Arnold, 1204 Hidden Harbor Drive. I do want to reiterate a comment my neighbor made earlier about the permitting process that for those projects that were begun were submitted before the storms were hit, and they shouldn't be put into the same queue as the substantial damage process. This is a standard routine siding project that can, we think, shut to the back of the line. We don't know for sure. Comments from Craig and Dean brought up a question. You said that these processes with storm damage apply to every single structure within the city limits. Yet several businesses and restaurants have completed their repairs already and reopened. And the mayor was not able to answer a question I asked her last week about whether the permitting process for businesses was the same as for residences. But it's not clear to me how a business could have completed the work, reopened, passed a health department inspection, while the rest of us are sitting waiting for a letter to come from the county through the city before we can begin any kind of repair work. I would like to add that although they're not here tonight, I've inquired with Pinellas County, Pinellas Suncoast Fire Department about the cause of a fire on our street where all of our structures are substantially similar. We don't know the cause of one of the fires, and none of us want to begin a rebuilding process with a potentially known fire hazard existing within the building. I've left 2 messages for the fire inspector, Mr. Hibb, and he has not returned my calls. So it's incumbent upon the county, the city, and the fire department to make sure that that information gets out. And lastly, I just want to say, we all know we're in extraordinary circumstances, and that calls for extraordinary leadership. The communities along the beach, around St. Pete, that were all affected by both hurricanes, need to band together, get the county and the state resources lined up, and no longer sit and wait for action to come to us. We have to go out and get it for ourselves. Thank you.
My name is Orville Lee. I live on 728 East Gulf Boulevard and I'm in one of those, I think, 50% things. My question is, investors around me are building up, repairing and doing their stuff. I've made a comment to them and they say, it don't matter, it's no big deal. We don't have to follow what's going on. And I'm sitting there waiting for that letter, and these people, they had the same kind of water I had in my house, but they can go in and they can do the repairs and try to get that going again. I just would like an answer for that from somebody. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
My name is Elsa Siegel, and I live on 12th Avenue in Ross Beach. I thank you very much for mentioning where one can finally recycle the hazardous waste close by without having them for a nice ride along the beach. But I'm sorry that there's not a representative from the fire department here today, because wood were recycled a fire extinguisher. So if maybe that could be addressed. Also, we appear to be a city that for some time to come is going to be under construction. Therefore, I'm asking that you please maybe clarify our signage that we have at a recycling station across from City Hall. I observed somebody that I felt very confident that he was doing more in recycling because I believe he was dumping. However, what I did not feel equipped because he was okay, trying somewhat. So I didn't dare to go toe-to-toe with this person, and I wasn't fast enough to take a picture of his license plate. The next time I see somebody that is discarding sacks of cement, broken tile, other construction equipment, I will take a picture of that license plate and I'll be talking to somebody at the city hall. Last but not least, if I have read most everything on your website, and I thank you for all the information that you're providing. I will provide my email just in case. You will send out mass emails in time to come. If there is anywhere any information regarding is the homeowner responsible to bring the front lawn in the condition that it was before the dump truck, forklift, and all the other equipment has kind of rearranged things. Not to most people's liking, because we take pride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Lindsay, 432 18th Avenue. Just to reiterate a few things tonight. Thank you for all you're doing. Working with Pinellas County, I know that's going to be tough. But it has been 7 weeks since Hurricane Helene came by. You know, I heard people talking tonight before the meeting started. One gentleman's been couch surfing for 6 weeks. People are in temporary homes. People are in FEMA hotels. And I know there's a tremendous workload to be done, and it seems like it's being handled by the folks down there at the end of the table. I would just offer one suggestion is that we approve the magistrate to handle short-term rentals. So maybe we could reallocate that resource and approve some more staff for these folks down there that have this workload to help residents get back in their homes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hi, Christine. Christine Bergman, 2207 Maple Park. I just wonder how everybody's stress level is. I think I know. I'm here to remind everyone that I'm coordinating the Community Trauma Recovery Project, so that's offering free support services to help deal with this kind of stress. So if you or anyone you know could use a chat or a little support privately, please give me a call. I've got cards and flyers around town. And just to remember that we all deal with stress differently, but it's always hard. And we will get through it one way or another. And when we are good to ourselves and do some self-care, take a breath, bring back that patience, it probably makes the ride a little less bumpy. So just want to remind everyone about that. The phone number is 727-314-5011. The initial papers I handed out didn't have the correct number. So please reach out, if not to our project, to your friends and loved ones, so that at the end of talking you can feel lighter, better, and breathe. Thank you everyone for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. This is a tough day. Thank you. Hi, RB.
Hey guys, RB Johnson, 1206 Beach Trail. I may be talking for a few minutes, more than 3 minutes, so I was wondering if Carol could give me her extra walk in her for 3 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you please state your name for the record, ma'am?
Carol McLaughlin.
Do you consent to giving you your 3 minutes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to make a historical comparison between Hurricane Elaine, which just happened, and Hurricane Elena back in 1985, which was probably the last really traumatic storm event that happened here in Indian Rocks Beach. I'm setting aside the storm of the century in 1993, where it was a winter storm and people got up in the morning and stepped out of their beds into 6 inches to 12 inches of water. They lived on the east side of Gulf Boulevard, which was strange and wild and whatnot, but it didn't cause nearly as much damage as 3 or 4 feet of water in your house. But Hurricane Elena was something else altogether, and if there's anybody in this room who was here then, they're never going to forget it for the rest of their lives, because it was something else altogether, and really until Elaine, there was nothing else that really compares in most people's lifetime about what happened in Indian Rocks Beach. And the two storms, and the comparison's instructive because the two storms were similar in many ways, but the impacts were entirely different. So what happened with Hurricane Elena was that it passed up the coast. It was a Category 2 storm, went from south to north, passed by Indian Rocks Beach, much like Elaine did. But what happened is it went up to around Cedar Key and then stopped. And for 2 days, it did a loop-to-loop, more or less staying in place, and just beat the Jesus out of the coastline, all up and down Pinellas County and other parts of coastal Florida. So rather than just there being, say, 6 hours or so with Elaine passing by and having its the consequences of the waves beating up the beach and the shoreline, we're talking about around 48 hours of that going on. And back then the beach was much narrower than it is now. We're talking about a beach that was essentially about 50 feet wide from the seawall, with no dunes, exposed seawalls, a handful of wooden groins up and down the beach. You can still see it, by the way. I think there's a mural in one of the back hallways behind the City Hall auditorium that shows people walking up and down this narrow beach with a seawall and some groins, and there's almost nothing there. And that's what was attacked by Hurricane Elena. And the result was that all the properties, every single property along the length of Indian Rocks Beach had on the Gulf side had substantial storm damage. We're talking about destroyed seawalls, and if the seawall wasn't destroyed, then the water hit the seawalls, went over the seawalls, and destroyed whatever was landward of the seawalls for about 50 or so feet. That meant that every single property had a destroyed seawall, or had a destroyed pool, a hot tub, or deck, or the cottage was destroyed, tipped into the water, etc., etc., etc. So this was the storm. This was going on for, like I said, 48 hours. Massive damage to every property up and down the coast on the west side. But all the damage was confined to that side of Gulf Boulevard. And not only that side of Gulf Boulevard, that side of Beach Trail, not only that side of Beach Trail, but within about 50 to 70 feet of the seawall. There was almost no damage on the east side of Gulf Boulevard because the storm surge was a couple of feet lower than the one we just saw for Hurricane Helene. So even though there was water on Gulf Boulevard, it was mainly water that was coming from the waves, striking the seawalls, going downhill from the seawalls down to Gulf Boulevard, and kind of flowing across the areas. But there wasn't really any substantial flooding on all the properties that we've seen from this storm, from Hurricane Helene on the east side of Gulf Boulevard. But everything on that side, the main tourist, especially at that time, area for Indian Rocks Beach was severely impacted. And it wasn't just Indian Rocks, it was all the other beach communities. And after the storm had passed by, when I came home and everybody else came home to my cottage, and I stood out on the seawall, if I took one step off the seawall, it was about 8 feet down, straight into the water. And it was like that for weeks afterwards because the sand had been pulled right out and dumped out into a long sandbar a couple hundred feet offshore. It took weeks and months for the sand to come back. It never came back entirely. You can still see photos of the damage and the impact if you just Google Hurricane Helene, Indian Rocks Beach, storm damage, et cetera, Pinellas County. So you fast forward to Hurricane Helene this year. Another storm that passed by, a stronger storm that had about 2 feet more of a storm surge. And of course, what we saw was that the water rises first on the east side intracoastal and comes this way. And then you saw all the flooding that went up and down, everywhere, not just Indian Rocks Beach, but all these coastal communities where you had 3 to 4 feet of water and all the properties on the east side of Gulf Boulevard. But the impact of Helene on the other side of Gulf Boulevard, and the other side of the seawall, was exactly the opposite of what we saw from Helene, which had even a lower storm surge, but was beating. The waves were beating on the seawalls, throwing water over the top, destroying seawalls, etc. We didn't have that kind of damage from this storm, even with a 2-foot higher storm surge, because with this storm, we had a wide beach with large vegetated dunes, pretty much from one end to the other. And those dunes absorbed the impact of the storm surge and those waves. Even though they were largely wiped out and moved around, what we saw was sand pushed up over the seawalls into people's property, along their decks and in their pools and whatnot. But it hasn't taken, most of those places have already removed their sand. It only took a few weeks. It wasn't the kind of damage we saw for Atlanta, where I left and went away to grad school, came away 2 years later, came back, and the scars were still there. There were still properties that hadn't done repairs above the seawall. There were still areas that were wiped out. So I just wanted to point out that there were big differences between the 2 different storms because of the way the beach was and what has been out there since. And by the way, we have a wide beach out there where the sand has already been coming back from the sand dunes, as opposed to Atlanta, where for months and years the beach never looked the same. So when people talk about whether or not the dunes make a difference, or the wide beach makes a difference, or vegetation makes a difference, there's a historical comparison that's right out there for people to investigate. Thank you.
Sorry, what's the point?
Yeah, what's your point?
Tough crowd. starting and when, you know? Scotch Grove, 2032, 20th Avenue Parkway. I can't believe it's been 4 weeks since we last gathered here, and guess what? We all know about the same thing. Nothing. It's been 7 weeks since the storm came, and I haven't slept in my house in 7 weeks, or my California King Tempur-Pedic, and for the first time since I was 17 and went to college, I'm couch surfing. That's me on the couch. But I'm moving back to my house this week. Whether it's safe, whether I have a kitchen, doesn't matter. Because the alternative is buy a trailer, put it in my yard like some people are doing, rent a place, buy a mobile home. I've looked at every alternative. I have a degree in finance, numbers are my thing. But this is my home. I'm moving back. Until somebody says I can't live there, until somebody says back to tear it down, I'm coming back all the way. Now, there's some that'll say that the heartbeat of our city lies on the sand and on West Bengal Boulevard and on the beaches. After 23 years, I've heard some say that it lies in the business triangle. But I can assure all of you here today, it lies in the neighborhoods, okay? East of Gulf Boulevard, everybody here, everyone who's affected, the heartbeat of our city is East of Gulf Boulevard in the neighborhoods. And I know we're all growing very impatient. We want these letters. We want to know, where do we stand? Can we rebuild? And for those of us that are doing the right thing, we've mitigated the flood damage. We got the bad shit out. And unfortunately, flood insurance does not take care of any kind of mold control. We got to do it on our own. So we're doing all the right things. We can't move forward and rebuild because we don't know if we can. We don't want to spend money. We don't want to throw good money after bad. So we're in a holding pattern. So best practices. You know, I'm going to be lining similar to what Guppy did with black plastic along. I'm doing everything I can to make a safe environment for me and my dog. I plan to move back to the neighborhood, but I want to know, can I rebuild? Do I have to tear down? Do I need to sell? And I think that's the big question. And I also want to know, what is the city doing? Are we investigating flood mitigation grants through FEMA? Because if we're not, why not? They're out there, let's apply, let's get them going. Let's help these people who might have to tear down their house, help them cover the cost of doing so, to build up, to live, to do whatever they need to do to stay in their home here in New York Beach. Because we all know flood insurance is going to probably double in the next 2 or 3 years. It's an absolute given. So the only way to stay here is to elevate. That's the future. That's what we need to do. And let's face it, for the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to be hearing hammers and drills. It's not going to be a peaceful neighborhood like it was. And back to the heartbeat, I know there's some here that think that the heartbeat of the city is the pickleball courts. I know that to be true. You know, as long as the pickleball courts are open, our city is open, and we're doing good. But, you know, we have a ways to go. I'm happy to see the pickleballers are back out there having a good time and, you know, can enjoy themselves. And I guess my 3 minutes is up. But once again, ADUs, alternative dwelling units, I want to see something on those, okay? Because we need to be able to help to afford to live here with the rising costs of insurance and the raising up, as well as the grants. And I just want to say, some lost all and all lost some. Thank you.
I don't know how to follow that. I'm Hillary King. I'm at 327 Bahia Vista, also known as Stevie Street, for some of you that recognize that name. So my question, and maybe it's really a comment, but and it may be in hindsight at this point, but I think it would be helpful for all of us an explanation of exactly what the role of the floodplain administrator is.
Could you speak into the microphone,
Sorry,
please?
I think it would be helpful for all of us, maybe someone in hindsight now, to know and understand what the role of the floodplain administrator is. Whether we have an attitude as a city, an incorporated city, to streamline our own process, to have our own process, provided it still allows us to retain the FEMA grants and assistance that we've been getting, and what we would do as a city and a commission now in this hindsight to put together a task force to consider what we could or should have done differently, because we know this will happen again. Thanks.
Anyone else? I think Ira's leaving.
Bye, Ira.
Bye, Ira. All right.
right, I guess we're gonna close the public comment and move on to the report of the city attorney. Oh, do you want to answer those questions now?
Okay, I'm Craig Fuller again with Civil Service Design Group. I'm going to answer as many of these as I can, and then the ones that I can't, I'm going to look to Hetty because she does your permitting on a daily basis, so she kind of understands a lot of the in-depth planning that's involved. One was, look, unfortunately, the schedule. We were told by the county. The county, so just to kind of set this all up, you're right, all of this is outsourced to the county. The actual how things are constructed, as they're inspected, that's all performed by the county. We were advised of the dates. We understood 2 weeks ago that we were going to get this information directly thereafter. We didn't get it. We finally did get information today, and we understand that they will be meeting regular schedules. So we're now, as far as kind of skipping ahead a little bit, how many, we do have a number, but there's 23 substantially damaged. I can't tell you which one, I just know a number because I did the analysis, and I mean, we have it, but you'll have that this week. And we're going to get that data to Greg and the team, and we will strive to get it out before Friday. So we are working with all these other cities. We're working specifically for your city though. We're just getting the data at the same time. So we wish it were faster. This is, so, and just to kind of, this kind of ties into a few other comments that happened later. So Greg has given us a lot of leverage to move things faster. The problem is we don't have any. This is the first data we actually got today. So we haven't, we put together a team, we put together a process of how we're going to link everything back to GIS so we can map it for your people so they can see coverage and they can see where things are hit. And then if you have a question, they can bring it up. If we share it with everyone, it'll crash. So I can't do that. I can't host a website and have everyone click on it every single day. But we're going to host it for them for certain. So what we're doing is linking it with the property appraiser. So we know exactly where your parcels are. We know what your address is. There's one number that never changes. It's your property appraiser number. Unfortunately, people read a number and it's wrong on addresses sometimes, and that's how the data comes in. And that's what I was mentioning on cleanup of data. Some parcels got inspected so many times, we got each record. With the initial cleanup of the initial set of data, there was a lot of it. So, all right. So, if you are demolishing your house, yes, you can completely avoid that. If you know what you're going to build, you can put it just as if you were going to demolish it in the first place. Whatever you're going to build. If it's just to demolish, I'm sure that's a straight permit there as well, if that's all you're planning to do.
It's available now.
But, yes, so
Not building.
that foregoes this whole process. If you already know you're substantially damaged, this is for the ones that are really close, right? If you only had 12 inches of water or less, and it did not affect your electrical, or you've already upgraded and you're significantly above that, and the first floor is primarily just your garage, that process has been actually really rapid. We're not trying to hold up anything. Of the 103 that we've received 103, and we've moved them forward to the county. So we've pre-approved and sent that to the county for that way that you could send it straight to the county for approval for that permit. So I just want to, we received I think 4 more while we were sitting here, but I mean we can't move those till tomorrow. We're rapidly getting those out. I'm not going to update on the beach. I don't know anything about that. So on communication, I won't say daily, that's going to be tough. We don't get information that frequently. The county is generally giving us groups of information weekly
At least that's what they've advised. Hopefully it's faster and hopefully it's more. But we'll be giving that, basically parsing through it, and then within a few days, we'll give more information then. So we have a team. Hetty and I are just here, but we have a team of 6 more behind us in the event, because as the letters go out, each of you is going to have a permit for a, I'll say a non-substantial. Non-substantial is simpler, it's not a full rebuild. If it's a substantial, it's obviously it's a, it may have setbacks and impacts and things like that that are very, very different. So I'm not suggesting that. But any of the non-substantial, if it's just a repair back the way it was, that's fairly straightforward. I know what the process is. There's roughly 4 forms. We have put together frequently asked questions. The problem is we didn't have data. There's nowhere for it to go. So we've assembled it all. It's all ready, but deploying it, if we deploy something and we know there's nowhere for it to go because they know they have to send us the prelim data, that could create another issue if you apply for, I'll say, for a non-substantial, and then it turns out you are substantial, and then there's that it's going to trigger another review, and it's just delaying the process. So please don't answer questions. I know you want to. Please don't. Please don't. I'll get in a lot of trouble. I just want to answer all of anything I know anything about. I cannot address the businesses and restaurants and if they actually have permits. We are not aware of them being outside of this situation. I think that what they're doing is temporary, and it could be at risk. I don't know. I can't address that. Everything, and I will advise, and that's something that I was bringing back up because that question was asked, all right? So if someone is substantially damaged, but you want to live in your house until you decide otherwise, that's where they are giving the option. I understand it. You can't be throwing good money after bad, but if you want to live there until you figure out what's next, that's where the county is putting together a process for permitting or allowing some minor improvements so that you can actually live there. Just because it's structurally habitable doesn't mean it might not have mold or things like that in it. So, let me see. On floodplain administrator, I'll let Hetty cover a little bit of that, but generally the rules are, because you guys are 100% in a floodplain, all activity has to be regulated because if it gets built and it's prone to a flooding area, like it's not built to, let's say it's a clean lot, right, empty lot. You build a new home and it's not built according to new codes because we're ignoring that the flood level comes to 8 or 9 feet because that's pretty standard here. That's why we're required to look at that, and then we have to say, yes, we looked at that, we signed off on it. We actually have CFMs who work inside of our group, floodplain managers. So that's why we assist the city in this. But I'll say the sign off is by the city, but he can, because you guys can work more bandwidth, but you don't need it permanently. You need it during a short period. That's why we're assisting so much in this. So the process is we have to sign off on it. Then it goes to the building department. The building department looks at how things are constructed. And they're looking at the structural aspects, the electrical. Do they put the outlets high enough? Where's the water going to get to? And so there's a lot of different rules. The GFI, because everything has to be then GFI on that entire, instead of just being like in a bathroom, right? So it's a very different set of rules. So I don't want to go too deep in the weeds because I'll do that. Just ask me. But Hetty, if you have anything else that I couldn't cover that.
I know they brought up about the siding on the townhouses. I've been seeing that. I'm aware of it. I just haven't had time to deal with it. I guess is really what it is, because I know you had some permits that were, the siding was started.
A month before the storm.
No,
No
Even before the storm.
work has started, no permits have been issued. A month before the storm.
Okay.
It's ready to go.
All right, if one of you would email me in the morning, and then I can forward that, to the county to see what we can do.
We have the material on our property.
I understand that.
That we've been waiting to put up.
I understand.
And it's you guys, it was way before the storm.
I understand, I thought I approved it way before.
No. Nope.
Okay, I can't remember, but yeah, just email me so I can bring it to the top.
One question, who approves permits, the county or you?
I do pre-approval that they meet, like, what the flood levels.
This
And
is
then
not
the county actually
flood-related.
issues the permit.
This is not related work.
Right, I can't issue you a permit, the county does. And then, but if somebody, one of you can email me, I will, follow up with the county on that. Thank you. And I think that we've covered everything.
Questions? And then we'll proceed with the report of the city attorney.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Randy Marr, City Attorney, very briefly. As I indicated at our last meeting, the parties, as it relates to the ongoing short-term rental litigation, the parties are engaged in continuing settlement discussions. I'm just going to take a moment.
Spice it up.
Parties are engaged in ongoing settlement discussions, and as a result of that, I am formally requesting a shade meeting pursuant to Florida Statute 286-11 sub 8, where we have pending litigation so that we can meet and discuss settlement negotiation strategy sessions related to litigation expenditures. That'll be coordinated after tonight in terms of finding dates and possibly even a location to conduct that meeting. Otherwise, just working with your city staff as we continue the hurricane response and recovery. I know I made a similar comment last meeting. I'll just reiterate that your frustration is palpable. We hear you. We really do hear you. It may not feel that way. You have civil servants trying. There are also people who also are among those who lost some or lost all. It may be difficult to appreciate in small comfort given the hardships that each of you have faced, but each city personnel in this city is the smallest division of government in this process. We are the city who is working at the direction and guidance given by the county, which is not always consistent with the mandates given to us by the state, which is further inconsistent or clouded by the guidance given by the federal government. And so in our federalist system and divisions of government, it creates challenges. Regardless of who won the presidential election, a change in presidential administrations also creates some uncertainty in this process in terms of where that guidance is going, and what may come and what we are adapting to. And so I don't say that to invalidate your feelings and experience through all of this, but just to say, we hear you, we are trying. There is no beach community right now where people are being able to rebuild at the pace they would like, or at a pace that we would love to see to restore the communities that we love so much. And we thank you for giving us the feedback. This is what the political process is designed for. This is why we have these meetings. So while it may feel as though you are carrying into the void, please know we are listening. This is the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the city manager's report. Nothing to report? Okay. Then we'll move on to the commission. John Bigelow, what have you got for us tonight?
I'm getting a lot of
inquiries
about Harbor Drive North construction project that's been going on since April. Been talking to Supervisor Cruz on the project. We're hearing end date sometime in March. If civil serve vehicles are out there, they don't seem to know either when asked. But I'm getting a lot of people in the neighborhood inquiring about it. Is there any type of update when that's supposed to be complete?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. I can not give you a definitive time frame on the completion. Right now, there's a couple conflicts with Pinellas County, who's providing a holdup on some water main conflicts and sanitary sewer conflicts. I do not know that that would go until March. They're under contract for a certain time frame, but we have an inspector who is on site, and like I said, I don't have a definitive time frame when it's going to be complete. But until we get the conflicts from those kind of utilities out of the way, which they're required to do because it's our right of way, I said, you know, that did cause a little bit of a delay at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Jude, do you have anything for us this evening?
I don't.
Thank you. Hope?
No, I don't. So I guess tonight, you know, I'm always here to listen and to anybody and any questions that they might have. I just spent a little bit of time with RB about his issue on the beach and his concerns about vegetation. Mike and Scott over here, we talked about the temporary housing and the possibility that that might be needed. So anything that I can do, I wish I was a superhero, you guys, because I'd have this fixed by now, but I'm just not. And I know that all of us are working very hard as we can to make progress. And that progress isn't just our homes, it is actually our beach, it's so many things. That being said, Zen, my business, you know, we've had an operation there for assistance for our community. We had to shut that down. So anything that we had left has been taken over to Saltwater Hippie, and they have a much larger operation going on over there. So if there's anything that you, your neighbors, anything that you need that we had going on there, please go over there, and you know they will be willing to help you out. That includes food, I mean everything. I really think that that's kind of it. If there's anything I can do, please, don't go far. I'm always on the block, so just reach out.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I've been to the first two legislative committee sessions for Florida League of Cities, and next month I'll be part of the conference where the Florida League of Cities is looking at what are those 5 areas that they really want to see addressed in the next legislative sessions. So come January, I should have some information. And as always, home rule, keeping the cities able to make their own decisions is thing that Florida League of Cities is most interested in doing. So I've enjoyed being part of that, and I look forward to learning more at the next conference.
Thank you.
First off, I'd like to announce that Project Hope will be providing a free meal tomorrow at Calvary Episcopal Church from 4 to 8 p.m. That's on 1615 First Street, Indian Rocks Beach. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, November 13th. And I think that he went around and left flyers on the seats of the next few dates that these meals will be available. In other good news, we're going to do a Christmas tree lighting on December 6th at 12th Avenue at 7 p.m. with our brand new Christmas tree. Isn't that right, Greg? When is that baby going up?
Next few days.
Okay. So we'll get a sneak peek of our brand new Christmas tree.
Wait until after the next storm.
Yes,
Sarah. Really?
And the IRB Christmas Street Parade will be happening on December 8th at 1 p.m. We'll line up back there on East Galt, so you can walk it, you can bike it, you can bring a golf cart if you still have one, and we'll just have some fun that day. And also then on December 21st, we'll be hosting the boat parade. It'll be a much more casual event. We won't be having prizes for the most beautiful boat. If you got a boat, you want to be in the parade, you want to throw up a flag, that's good enough. Thank you. Let's see, item 4, I don't think we have any additions or deletions. Next is the consent agenda. Randy, would you read, please?
Happily, Madam Mayor, there are 3 items on the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the October 29, 2024 regular city commission meeting minutes. Item B, rescheduling the March 11, 2025 regular city commission meeting to Tuesday, March 25, 2025 due to the IRB general election. And item C, resolution 2024-12, the resolution of the city commission of the city of Indian Rock Beach, Florida, making findings, approving, ratifying all emergency declarations and extensions thereof, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. These are the 3 items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Randy. Can someone make a motion?
The motion to accept the consent agenda.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It stands approved, Madam Mayor, and just given that we referenced it in item B, I wish to remind you all that the qualifying period will be approaching for the March election. The qualifying period, Lauren, is that in December, correct?
It's the first Monday of December, which is the 2nd, and we'll go through December 9th.
Thank you. So the qualifying period will be December 2nd tonight. We want to make sure that.
Correct, and I just wanted to say, if anybody's interested, please call me.
Lauren is the local supervisor of elections for elections. That's how that works for municipal elections. Your clerk is your, in most cities, is that person. So if you're seeking information about candidacy, serving, running, and what that may entail, Lauren is who is your point of contact.
Thank you. Let's see, moving on to public hearings, we have none. Other legislative matters, none. Work session, none. Other business, none. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Good night, you guys.